Salam alaikum à tous les Algériens, Marocains, Tunisiens et tous les pays francophones avec moi. Dorian Yates. Salut mon ami.
Jamcore.
Jamcore. So listen. Donc je vais lui parler en anglais, après je vais vous traduire en français. So you know the difference. Obviously, you are you're Mr. Olympia, 6-time Mr. Olympia, one of, if not the guy who changed bodybuilding in the whole world and brought that physique that everybody was dying for and killing themselves to have, including all the top pros, and they never guessed. How did you do it? How did you do it?
Well, let's see. What did I do differently?
Yes.
It's probably the easiest thing to ask. What did I do differently from all the other guys? The training was different. The training was shorter and more intense. And you've trained with me, so you know what intense means.
I know what freaking intense means,
getting
man.
Absolutely everything out of the exercise. So it means using that exercise as a tool in order to put the maximum stress on the muscle. So it's not simply about lifting heavy weights. The heavy weights might be involved, of course, as you get bigger and stronger, you need more resistance, but it's what you do with the weights. It's doing the exercise with the perfect form. It's about slowing down the negative portion of the rep. It's about controlling the weights all the time, and it's about having a mind inside the weights so that in 1 or 2 sets I can totally destroy an exercise, and for me to do more than that is then pointless. You know, it's just giving more stress for your body to recover. So what you want to do is you want to get the message to the muscle that it's under stress and it needs to react and it needs to grow as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And then the rest of your job is outside of the gym, which is resting and recovering. So that was the difference between me and the other guys. It wasn't just training heavy because, you know, some of the other guys were strong and they train heavy. But it's about really just getting everything out of every portion of the rep and using your mind to do that.
Do you believe in myofibrillar hypertrophy, which is, you know, the growth of the fiber? And this is because there's a huge debate right now going with that sarcoplasmic, which is the volume of the cell that grows, and the myofibrillar, in a way, the split of the fibers, if I can call it, when you build up more fibers and density. And this is what you were known for, the density of your physique was just incredible. A lot of people will say, oh, maybe because he dieted really strict. Of course, that was a great factor in you getting that. But
and genetics is a part of it.
Genetic of part of it.
So what we're talking about is, you know, hypertrophy of the muscle fibers. And so why did my muscles look different from the other guys? It was muscle density. It was not, you know, that's why the muscle, it looks harder, it looks stronger, because the fibers have grown from progressively lifting heavy weights in a correct fashion. It's not by trying to increase the
volume.
The fluid. Fluid capacity of the muscle. And that's why I had a different look that, you know, is often not really well translated in pictures. So when people see pictures from the past 20 years ago, they might debate, oh, well, it looks like this guy, you know, maybe Kevin should have won, or Flex, or whatever, because that's not really translated very well in photos.
Right.
But my physique had such a powerful look to it because of the density of the muscles that when it stood next to other people, that was very apparent, and it was something unique to my physique, and that you don't see very often. You see a little bit with Ronnie Coleman. Had a lot of density of muscle, and Branch Warren, but you know, still not to my unique level.
And also with Ronnie Coleman and Branch Warren and all the other pros, especially somebody, there were a lot of use of insulin. and this is what made them even more bloated and that look. And that's why they couldn't get that grainy look, and also they were depending too much on volume, right?
As you know, I'm always very honest about things because that's just the way that I am. And I did use insulin. I did start experimenting with it in '96, and I used it in '97 in the off season. I never used it to try to prepare for a contest because I don't think you can lose body fat efficiently if your insulin level is high. But I did use it in the off season, and '97 was my least favorite look.
Right.
I actually reached the heaviest body weight I ever did.
How much did you weigh there?
In the off season, I was about 310 pounds.
Wow.
It wasn't comfortable, and my stomach was starting to get distended. All the the look that we associate now with, the bodybuilders post 2000 or whatever, I was starting to get slightly from the insulin. So for me, the insulin, yes, I tried it. Was it a positive thing? No, definitely not. I think it spoiled my physique to some degree. It gave it a bit more volume and a few more pounds weight, but it affects the quality. And for some mechanism, which I'm not quite sure what that is, it distends the belly. So you get this bloated look with the belly. Maybe if you're using insulin, you're holding water, you're going to be holding water under the skin.
And then the skin is as simple as that.
So perhaps that explains in part the lack of condition in the modern, the conditioning is nowhere near. If you look at my iconic black and white pictures that everybody knows, the ones that were taken in the gym with the socks on and so on, these were taken 6 weeks before the contest. And I did not consider that to be contest condition, although now that would surpass the contest condition of most of the professionals.
Oh, yeah. Hands down.
Why can't these guys get in shape?
Because they don't freaking train hard, D. You know that. They all have coaches. Another question.
They don't build real muscle fiber.
Exactly.
There's a lot of retained water and so on. And I believe with the use of insulin and perhaps some of these new peptides, growth factors and so on, which I really, I don't know all the things guys are using now, but it seems to be that you're getting muscle growth in areas that would not normally be stimulated by training.
Yeah.
Listen, people were using steroids, people were using growth hormone in the 80s and certainly into the 90s and so on. But guys still had a small, tight waist. They were massive, but they still had a small waist. So why is that not achievable anymore all of a sudden?
But you know why? You know why, bro? It's
because people are looking for a chemical answer, a chemical formula to get the desired result that they're looking for, because that's what people are interested in. They're interested in the end product. They want to look. They want a certain look, but they're not particularly interested in the process and the hard work that's involved. They just want to get that by another means, and they've been trying to do that, but it's not working for them. They don't have that look. So you can take all the drugs in the world you want to do, but if you're not training hard, man, you ain't going to look like you're training hard,
Ain't going to happen, and it seems it's like more geared up towards what is the next drug that is going to make me get bigger instead of focusing on the freaking grafting inside the gym and freaking day in, day out. Stay with the compound movement, freaking, like you said exactly, the perfect form. Going back to the scientists, they still don't know that such thing as myofibrillar hypertrophy do exist, because for them you have to do a biopsy. You cannot freaking tell with the biopsy, and you have to take a freaking muscle, a human muscle, and split it and put it back to find out. And I'm like, look at Dorian, look at the density, look how he did it. You have guys here on the left hand side that are trying to match him for size, they can't because of the way they are training. So would you ever use volume training? Because you never did it, right?
What is volume training? I don't even know what
volume, high reps.
It has to be progressive, And the
progressive,
thing is, there has to be some factor that's creating muscle growth, right? So I'm saying, yes, that's the intensity of effort of the muscular contractions. That's what causes it, right?
Right.
So if the argument is that it's volume that has some influence on the muscle growth, then that would have to be progressive. If you're training for an hour and a half now, if volume was the deciding factor, then wouldn't you have to train for 2 hours and then 2.5 hours and 3, and eventually wouldn't you just be training all day?
All day,
if that was, if that was the thing that had to be progressive. The thing that's progressive is the intensity and the overload. That's my opinion.
Well, here's the excuse, which is funny for me. They go, oh, you cannot train intense all the time because it taxes your nervous system. It's true if you don't recover properly, if you don't sleep properly, if you don't eat properly, all these things can do affect your growth. But towards the end of my career, when I started, training with you, I changed my training styles, and it showed. It showed. It showed. Yeah. I couldn't train the way you were training because to me it was completely, insanely unachievable because you conditioned yourself to do it day in, day out. But what made the difference between you and us, all of us?
I try to make it perfect, but the thing was, I do agree that you can't train in that fashion all the time, continuously. You need to cycle it somewhat, and I more or less came with around 5 or 6 weeks. If I pushed it beyond that, then I was hitting the wall. So what I did was just cut back for a couple of weeks, train lighter. Do 12 or 15 reps if you like, but I don't really see it as a growing phase. I see it as a kind of active recovery. You're giving yourself a mental break, a little physical break. You're not working at 100% capacity, but you're not going backwards.
Exactly.
You might take one step back. Then in the next 6 weeks, you're going to take 3 steps forward, and then 1 step back, and so on. So yeah, you do have to cycle it. The reason it's effective is because it's very, very intense. So you can't really do that continuously, So I think in my experience, 5 or 6 weeks, training super intensely, train to failure, trying to get more weights and so on, followed by 2 or 3 weeks more active rest. And yeah, you can do higher reps and put more blood into the muscle and so on, but I don't think it's going to help you to grow. I just see it as a maintenance period,
I think that was your philosophy, and it did work for you, but I don't think nobody can do what you did. That's why it's just crazy that people, they're always thinking about volume training, intensity, whatever they need to follow, but there is no the other factor of recovery, sleeping, and living it day in, day out. Like I was telling you with the wall, putting the bricks every day, you had to put your freaking brick every day. You knew you had to put the brick because every day you had to put that brick. We missing bricks. I remember when I visited you with Flex Wheeler, I saw what was going on in 3 hours, 4 hours. You had 4 meals and freaking had your nap. We were eating pizzas and freaking Kentucky Fried Chicken. This is the difference between.
That's one day for me and no
days for us,